presentation.
Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you.
That was Charlie Korsmo, the kid from Dick Tracy, and a staunch conservative, pledging allegiance to our flag. Good evening, and welcome to the second night of our Indecision 92 coverage of the Republican National Convention. Tonight, Phil Gramm. Should be a lot of laughs. Tonight is domestic agenda night, a chance for the Republicans to lay out their plan to solve the many problems plaguing our troubled nation: recession, homelessness, crime, drug abuse, unemployment. Look for a call to cut the capital gains tax, for a constitutional amendment to balance the budget, and an even more urgent call for the line item veto. Phil Gramm talking tonight. Now, before we go to Calvin Trillin, who's on the floor in Houston, a few apologies. First, I just want to apologize to our viewers for not doing a 2-hour special on Woody and Mia. This is Comedy Central, and this whole business with Woody and Mia is big comedy news, but we had already sent Calvin down to Houston, and we're just going to stick with the Republican convention. But I'm sorry. Now to our sponsors, our sponsor Mentos. I'm sorry. The Mentos people have been great, and last night I said a few things. I said the balloon drop was going to use fetus-shaped balloons, and that the pro-choice Republicans were planning to pop the fetus-shaped balloons with pins, kind of as a protest. And I don't know, I thought it was funny. And the Mentos people just want you to know that they have no position on abortion, just like Barbara Bush. Also, the Republican goatee. Now, for those of you who were watching last night, you know that the Republican goatee is our attempt to provide some balance in our coverage. I'm a Democrat, I've said so in the past, but whenever I wear the goatee, I'm a Republican. The tax and spend Democrats are going to raise your taxes and then spend the money on welfare cheats. See? Anyway, last night I put the Republican goatee on the Mentos jar, and I guess the Mentos people felt that it was, actually, this is confusing. Some of the Mentos people felt that it made Mentos seem Republican, and others thought it meant that Mentos was Democrat. And Mentos is not Republican. Mentos is not Democrat. Mentos is for everyone. In fact, that's their slogan. Now, to our viewers, also, I have to apologize. Last night, I don't know if you could tell, but I got a little bummed out during the Pat Buchanan speech. I think it was around the 8th gay bashing remark he made. And you know, no one loves a good gay bashing joke better than me. I've used them myself, but Buchanan's speech was ugly. It was a great speech. It's just that he said we're having a religious war in this country, and no one told me about it, and I got bummed out. And that's just something an anchorman shouldn't do. I shouldn't allow my personal feelings. Buchanan, 96. Well, anyway, I think it was ugly. Anyway, tonight I will not get bummed out, so my apologies to the viewers. I was afraid this would happen at the Republican convention. I'm not going to get bummed out. My apologies to you, and most of all, to the good people at Mentos. The last thing I want to do is offend the sponsor. Speaking of which, we have a new sponsor with us, Game Boy. The Nintendo people have given us a Game Boy, and they've asked that sometime during the week we play with it, and I've never played with one of these before. Roy!
Hey, yeah.
Here.
Oh, yeah, here you go. Oh, not bad. Hey, this is fun.
Yeah, Game Boy is fun.
Yeah. Huh.
You know, they say you can play 26 games with this thing, and, you know, I can think of about 8 already. Football, baseball, hockey.
Hockey.
You know, the lagging games, you know, where you try to get it just to sit on the edge, that kind of thing.
Whoop.
Oh, I lost. Well, anyway, welcome Game Boy. Now let's go to Calvin Trillin on the floor at the Astrodome. Calvin.
Yes, hello, Al.
How are things going?
They're fine. Here I am again, Al, as I'm, as they say in East Texas, up to my Puppican Republicans. This is Domestic Policy Day. That's the theme, and so we are searching for delegates who work as domestics. This is in keeping with what we did yesterday on foreign policy when we looked for delegates that were rather foreign-looking. But we've kept that up, the foreign-looking business, and we've had a report of somebody in Rhode Island. The description is, looks a little Portuguese around the eyes. So we'll have our people on both of those things throughout the evening.
Oh, well, thank you, Calvin. And by the way, congratulations on your interview with George Bush Jr., George W. Bush last night. Now, I noticed that he touched you a lot. What was that about? I mean...
Oh, this is nothing for Pat Buchanan to worry about. As you probably know, Washington is full of these cardboard cutouts of the president that tourists pose next to, and there's so many that sometimes apparently George on his visits up there has thought that he's speaking to his father and realizes that he's speaking to a cardboard cutout and there's a tourist from Sheboygan next to him having his picture taken. So now occasionally he will just reach over and grab the either the person or the cardboard cutout next to him just to see which it is.
Now how are you and the crew doing down there? Are you having any problems? Are things going pretty smoothly?
I don't want to air our dirty linen in public, Al, but we did have one problem. As you might have read in the New York Times and other places today, yesterday there was a little problem here when Barbara Bush and maybe one or two other women had on red dresses. And that is Nancy Reagan's color. She was planning to come out in a red dress. They say she owns red. Well, by extraordinary coincidence, today, as we were discussing the program, it turned out that both Penn Jillette and Lawrence O'Donnell,
who were up above, they were planning to wear beige. They were planning to wear beige, knowing, I mean, they should have known that I was wearing a beige jacket because I own beige. And finally, they saw had a
reason.
memo to that effect, and I don't know what happened.
I'm told the executive producer sent them a very stern memo to that effect, but we have finally got that adjudicated, and I believe when you go to them, you'll find them in extremely Republican, stiff-looking suits.
Well, thank you, Calvin. In fact, we're going to go to them. Right now, we'll be coming back to Calvin throughout the evening, but let's go to Lawrence O'Donnell, a senior aide to Senator Pat Moynihan, and as you might suspect from Calvin's description, he has a magician with him. Lawrence.
Thank you, Al. Yes, I have a magician with me, the single largest magician in this building, Penn Jillette. And just like last night, Al, we have cabinet secretaries lined up to talk to us right now. We had Lynn Martin last night. We're going to continue that. We intend to get every cabinet member up here before the convention's over. But for the moment, the big thrill up here, the big buzz is Penn Jillette is in the building.
Yeah, and I want to apologize. I brought in some cute little Penn and Teller style tricks. I brought in a really big sawing, and I brought in also a bullet catch. I had this nice gun that was muzzle loaded. I'm going through there, and I'm not a Democrat, but the fascist pigs took away my gun. And I'm explaining to them that all he's going to do is catch the bullet in his teeth, and that it'll be a really funny bit. So I am here, in magic terms, completely and utterly naked.
Denuded.
Denuded. But I want to tell you, Al, that I am not a Democrat like you. I'm not sucking up to Clinton. I am here with an open mind on kind of a work-study thing to see if I can become a Republican over these next few days.
Well, we'll be tracking that.
You watch that. I'll keep you posted on the way I feel. Does my hair look okay? We look all right here. We had no makeup or hair.
Yeah, no
but
makeup.
We share blue. We share blue.
You look terrific, guys. We'll be coming back to you, and you'll both be doing, I guess, interviews with some fascinating people, and giving Larry and Penn will be giving their unique perspective on this convention. I'd like to. Anyway, it's a great convention. Never mind. Anyway, with us is Joe Bob Briggs, who's a syndicated columnist. He's an award. Oh no, we're not going to do that. Are we? Can I go to Roy? No. I hear we're going to a commercial. And maybe from Mentos, but maybe not from Mentos. But if not, they're great mint. And they're for everybody.
Live coverage of the Republican National Convention.
We're back with Indecision 92, our coverage of the Republican National Convention. No one important is speaking now. With us is Joe Bob Briggs, a syndicated columnist. He is an award-winning investigative reporter and host of the movie channel's Joe Bob's Drive-In Theater. And Joe Bob's assignment this week has been to cover the morning sessions, what goes on in the morning sessions in Houston. And Joe Bob must have been an active day there at the Astrodome.
You know, before I do this, Al, I've got to respectfully request to be taken off this duty. I mean, I have watched 38 hours of these people talking, and I don't think I can do this anymore. It's like being trapped in an elevator with Dick Van Patten. They're grinning all the time. Drives me nuts. They're angry, but they're grinning all the time. They say the same things over and over and over again. Like the highlight today was watching Marilyn Quayle grin her way through this kung fu demonstration. There were these little kids out there showing the Republicans how they'd learned to kickbox the bejabbers out of one another, and Marilyn was sitting there nodding and grinning, saying, "Isn't this nice? This is so nice." See, Marilyn is required to be everywhere on camera this week because they're trying to make her into the Republican version of Hillary Clinton. And so far, they've come up with a lot of similarities, like she's also a lawyer, and she's also... Well, actually, now that I think about it, there's just that one similarity. But did you see her last night? She had a great dress on last night. Did you notice that? Looked like a block of Neapolitan ice cream. Anyway, Al, we'll talk later about my assignment, okay? Because these people are really starting to get on my nerves. I am so sick of hearing about family this, family that, family values. They've had 17,000 people come out and talk about their gall darn families. Y'all go home and spend some time with your families, okay? We don't want to hear about it. You know what kind of families these are? They're like your senile uncle that comes to visit once a year on Thanksgiving and tells you all the interstates he took to get there, and then he eats 3 pounds of turkey and dressing and falls asleep. And a lot of these women, they're like the 3rd grade teacher that used to force you to learn the minuet. You know that dance that George Washington did when he had his wig on? They force you to make an idiot of yourself dancing that dance, and then you pretend like you learned something so they'll leave you alone. Kay Bailey Hutchison presided over the session today. She's the Texas State Treasurer, that one with the blonde hair like an ice sculpture. And she's like one of those Cub Scout leaders that keeps saying, "Won't it be fun, boys, to go out and sing Christmas carols for 3 hours?" And everybody goes, "Oh, yeah." And under their breath, they're thinking, "I hate this woman." And so she introduced all the speakers today, and after each speaker, she would say, "That was just so wonderful." And by the way, I almost forgot. They were giving out free prostate exams in the Astro Arena. I am not making this up. You walk into a booth and some Republican doctor puts on a rubber glove and goes to work on you. And I had to wonder, why were they doing this? Maybe it was in honor of Reagan's speech last night or something, because after all, he did have the most famous prostate of any American president in history. Because remember when they put that in the newspaper every gall darn week about how they cut out some more of his intestine? You know, 8 inches this time added to the 4 inches they took out last year. Now they were going to stick another electrified tube loop up through his urethra. And after a while you're reading this stuff, you go, "Stop, yuck, I cannot take that." You know what they're saying when they say that stuff? And I'd want to say, forget it. Whatever they cut out of that guy is dead. It's not coming back. They threw it away. It's in the garbage disposal. Stop talking about it. But see, of course, that just goes along with my theory about the Republicans being this family from hell that shows up at the holidays and stays for 3 weeks. Grandpa Reagan, he even had one of those shirts on that are only worn by 6-month-old babies and 80-year-old men. You know, the ones with the checks and the white collar. So the Republicans, they kind of are a version of the American family. And you know what happens to families like that, don't you? Little Billy comes home from school one day and says, "Hey, Mom, I think I'm gay." And then Mom has to write a letter to Ann Landers that starts out, "Dear Ann, I have been humiliated by my own child." And that's pretty much what's happening here. They had one guy today, that Senate candidate from North Dakota. What was his name? Steve Sidness. and he comes out and he talks about how we need a new Congress and a new broom sweeps clean, and then he holds a new broom up in the air, an actual broom. Now, isn't this exactly the kind of joke your black sheep brother from Saginaw tells while everybody's trying to watch the football game? In other words, they didn't do diddly squat again today, Al. I got to get a different job, though. Al, I feel so strongly about this. I would rather go to the opera with Hugh Downs than do this job. You know what I'm talking about?
I have been to the opera with Hugh Downs. And I agree with you. Well, thank you, Joe Bob. And I guess we're going to go to Lawrence O'Donnell, who has, I think, a cabinet member, but it's one of those cabinet members you've never heard of. I don't mean to say that. I'm sure he's the best cabinet member. Lawrence?
I've heard of me. Al, this is a cabinet member that I've heard of. This is Secretary of Transportation Andrew Card, and he's from Massachusetts.
His name is Carr?
C-A-R-D. C-A-R-D. And he's from Massachusetts. His governor, Bill Weld, is on the podium right now. Weld is someone everyone's looking at for 96.
Does he say anything about abortion?
He hasn't gotten to abortion yet.
Okay.
But Andy Card, who is a new Secretary of Transportation, he's been there for a couple of months.
6 months.
6 months.
6 months.
He first met George Bush by picking him up at an airport and giving him a ride in his Chevy Chevette. Isn't that how it happened?
1979, it all began, and since then the president's been on the road.
This is an incredible promotion. You go from driving the guy in a Chevy Chevette to Secretary of Transportation. Now, does he call you for rides anymore? Is he still relying on you for that?
He calls me, but it's usually for me to take a ride.
Yeah.
And he says, will you hit the road, Andy? And I say, I'm glad to do whatever you ask, Mr. President.
Now, you are, Secretary of Transportation is like, what, 15th in the line of succession for the presidency?
14th.
14th.
I'm right up there.
All right. So do you have plans? Do you have it in mind if you're 14 heartbeats away?
I have a secret place where I hide, and then I know when I have to pop out and get ready to take the satchel, should it be handed to me.
Yeah, you're ready.
And no one knows what I look like.
Yeah.
So I'm the safest person to carry that satchel around.
So, but you've got some legislative plans. Now, do you have the big questions? Are you ready for the big questions when you become president?
I'm ready.
Do you have any daughters?
I have 2 daughters.
Okay, so you're getting the hypotheticals about if they ever needed an abortion, would you provide transportation to the clinic? Are you getting any of those?
Well, they're old enough to drive.
Yeah.
They're self-inflicted with their own problems. They're both the age of majority. Tabitha is 24. Rachel is 22, and my son
so they
Andrew
stopped
was
listening
17.
to you like 15 years ago.
That's correct.
Yeah, okay. Now, Transportation Department, you have a huge amount of money to spend. This is not one of those departments without cash. You just got $150 billion a couple of weeks ago, right?
We will be spending $20 billion this year.
So the lobbyists are all over you here,
I've got
right?
a lot of friends.
The guys who want to
I have
pour
a lot of
concrete
friends.
and all of that.
My favorite friends are governors because they get to distribute the money for transportation in their states.
Pretty much any way they want to. You just give them cash and they can
give them
it
cash.
to subways
We say,
or highways or...
Well, thanks to Senator Moynihan and you,
yes, me.
The governors now have great flexibility so they can spend the money the way they want to on highways or on transit system, or they can move it from transit to highways, highways to transit. And we're creating jobs, real jobs in this economy, and they're jobs that people have hard hats and shovels and paved streets.
But in terms of big money guys walking around this building, it's like it's you, it's Dick Cheney. You are the guys with the money to spend, right? So everyone is after you for that.
They're after me.
Yeah.
Yes, they want the money that the Department of Transportation has, and we want to give it to them. We're looking to say, spend the money fast, create jobs in our economy, and fix the infrastructure.
You heard it here first, Al. Spend the money fast from a Republican. And Andy Card, you'll be hearing from for the rest of this administration and next administration if the president is reelected.
When he's reelected.
When he's reelected. Thanks for coming by, Secretary Card.
Well,
thank you.
Thank you, Secretary. A real Cinderella story. Picked up George Bush in his Chevy to drive him to an airport, and now spends billions and billions of dollars and is taken to dinner by lobbyists. This is the dream of any kid who works in a campaign, and it's I'm moved. I think we're going to go to the feed and watch the governor from the same state as the secretary, William Weld, who is a pro-choice and pro-homosexual rights, gay rights governor. And in light of last night's speech by Pat Buchanan, let's listen
families are free
to this
to walk
reasonable
the streets
person.
in safety, no other freedoms really matter. We are tough on taxes because excessive taxation stifles individual initiative and economic enterprise. On these fundamental Republican themes, I can safely say we agree. There are also issues where we do not agree. I happen to think that individual freedom should extend to a woman's right to choose.
Ooh. Ooh. Not much reaction either way, but that woman is cheering.
I want the government out of your pocketbook and your bedroom.
Ooh.
Some people want the government in their bedroom, apparently.
But this disagreement
I do.
is not unhealthy. Unlike the Democrats, George Bush and the Republican Party are not afraid of a little disagreement.
All right, we have Calvin Trillin has, in a moment, we'll have one of the Senate's tallest members.
Tonight proves it.
In fact, the tallest member of the Senate, Alan Simpson,
We
and
should not let this issue
a man
divide
who
us. We should focus on uniting
came to
and on winning
a lot of
in
attention
November.
during the Anita Hill, well, the Clarence Thomas hearings, and
because all of us agree.
said some nasty stuff is coming over the transom about her. I hope he's not hearing this because I want him to be our guest.
To the future
And he
of
apologized for
this
that,
country.
though.
Thank you.
And he's known as one of the funniest members of the Senate. And we're going to throw to Calvin as soon as...
Please welcome the first woman mayor
I like that
of
voice.
Jefferson City, Missouri, the Honorable Louise Gardner.
You know, I heard that voice before. Roy, did you hear that? Please welcome.
Yeah, I hear it, but it's not on any of the networks.
So you didn't hear it as clearly as I did.
Yeah.
It's the same. It's.
I ask you again.
I think I heard that voice at the Atlanta airport.
Ah, yes, that's right.
Do not get on the tram.
That's right. Will the person who has allowed some portion of his body to block the miracle electronic sliding door, please move it now?
Well, actually, I'm wrong. The Atlanta voice. He was more Disney World.
That Disney World.
He was more Disney World. That's.
Ladies and gentlemen, not
I guess. I guess. Do we not have Alan Simpson?
Solutions.
Oh, in a few minutes.
Are already working in the states.
Okay, who is this guy?
And what have we done in the states is what the President of the United
Now, Roy,
States wants
can I
to
go to
do
Roy?
And wants to do
Let's
in
go to
America.
Roy. Roy, what's
Democrats
what do you see on the other networks there?
Well, we got Roseanne and we got a couple other sitcom things here. The networks are not coming in until 10 o'clock tonight. I mean, coming into the convention. So, you know, Roseanne just had a new
whoa, what's that on, was that Baywatch?
Yeah, it's from some kind of, I don't even know.
That caught my attention, I'm sorry.
I don't recognize it. There's Mark Harmon over here in something, I don't know. But I noticed last night that they had Patrick Buchanan talking about a holy war against lesbians, and then they followed him up with Ronald Reagan, who looks like the last person in the world who would actually shoot someone for his or her sexual preference.
It was a little bit of good cop, bad cop.
Yeah. They have a lot of that working for them. The Republicans have. The platform will say that people should go to jail for having an abortion, and then the president and his wife, the vice president, will say that if their daughter or granddaughter.
Republicans.
I'm sorry, I have to. Let's pick that up when we get back from Calvin. Calvin with Senator Alan Simpson of Wyoming. Calvin.
Thank you, Al. I have with me here Senator Alan Simpson of Wyoming, who's known as one of the wittiest people in the Senate, so it's correct that he should be on Comedy Central. Known for folksy aphorisms and saying, and I wanted to ask you, Senator, about the supply of folksy aphorisms, because it seems to me that you would run out. I mean, on Ross Perot, for instance, you could say, oh, he was all hat and no cattle, or you could say he was all hawk and no spit. Or I noticed the other day you said not he was, when the Democrats were complaining about something, that they were complaining like a stuck pig. You said like a gut-shot cougar, right? Something like that. Panther, right. Well, see, so you can't say next time gut-shot cougar and then kind of go down gutshot wildebeest and that sort of thing. So do you have a guy in your office coming up with new animals to be gutshot?
I have people that are so skilled that they can talk about then that being a coyote,
right,
or a puma, or all those marvelous things, using all sorts of the quadrupeds and the ungulates of the earth.
So
I was just thinking, I look at you and me, we look like a couple of bald-headed bomber pilots. What in the world is this?
And I was over there. I hope
were you?
I
was.
Right. Well, I wasn't. I was lying.
Clinton wasn't either.
I know. No, there's.
We're going to ask him about that.
Yes.
27 million of us rabid veterans are going to find out while he was over there reflecting in the great tomes and treatises of London. Wow, go ahead.
Right. Okay. Well, I hope you'll have the Vice President Quayle bring that up to him when he talks to him about that.
At least he wore the uniform.
Right. The other thing what I want to know is not just the different sorts of animals, but how do don't you ever run out of these phrases? I mean,
well, you do. You can. And when you do, you usually get your foot right down in your mouth. I was with a group the other day, and they were all asking for money. Social Security, shaking their fists, and some guy in the back, I said, I'll take another question from the gray-haired gentleman in the back. He said, I'd rather have my hair turn gray than turn loose, which is a disgusting thing. You wouldn't like that either.
No.
And then I said, you know, what is it you want? You want me to cut things, and if I cut them, you defeat me. So no wonder you're confused. Right now you have a country that's like a milk cow with 250 million tits.
Well, there's a new one.
Yes, it is.
Yes,
it is.
I don't think I've ever heard that one before.
Well,
no.
But think of the vision of it.
I've heard the one cougar with 250 million. Yeah. Well, that's I'm from Missouri. We have slightly different. We don't have Wyoming. Yeah, cougar. It's funny. That's an old Missouri folk phrase. Yeah. Here's the other thing I want to ask you, Senator Simpson. Well, it's a corncob sort of place, Missouri. Yesterday we said, because we do a lot of facts that the other networks don't bother with, that you were the tallest senator. Is that true?
People have said to me, I didn't know they could stack it that high without it falling over. That's true.
Well, there's another.
6'7" of it, standing in the Umba.
Now, do you hear a lot of those sorts of jokes? I mean, they go way beyond how's the weather up there and everything like that.
You mean bald jokes?
No, not bald jokes. We are opposed to bald jokes, Senator.
I think you and I should.
Oh, absolutely. We think anybody with a bald joke. I think there should be a constitutional amendment.
But you know, the best one. One of the best ones of those is everyone's given a certain number of hormones, and if you want to waste yours growing hair, that's your business.
All right. So I have one more question for you. Is the tallest man in the Senate.
Yes.
Can you do a slam dunk?
I never could, and when I played basketball for the University of Wyoming Cowboys, I was listed in the statistical columns as Others, and they called me Others Simpson. It was a great triumphant career.
A cougar with 250 million udders, Senator Alan Simpson. Thank you very much, Senator.
Great pleasure.
Thank you.
You do good work.
Well, thank you, Calvin. Thank you, Senator Simpson. Senator Simpson, one of the wittiest members of the Senate, and a man who's had to apologize. Roy, I don't know if you've, sorry to startle you.
No.
But Alan Simpson's had to apologize a lot over the last, didn't he?
Right.
He attacked Peter Arnett for marrying a Vietnamese woman.
That's right. And he apologized. Yes, so that ties into what I was saying about the Republicans saying something harsh and then something gentle and going back and forth. It's an extension of the whole notion of deniability. I remember back during the Iran-Contra scandal, they talked about how you have to preserve the president's deniability. Do things in such a way so that the president can deny that he did it or knew about it. I've written a little song about deniability which goes sort of like this. Say you've been cheating on your diet or you went out and started a riot. All you have to do is just deny it. Deniability. You don't have to have no humility if you've got deniability. And remember, you didn't hear it from me.
You know, I think you've just said more about the way our government works than all the words in the morning session.
Well,
now,
I appreciate it.
Roy, I have to go to the convention floor is filling up with delegates and party officials, all concerned, well-informed, politically active individuals. And once again, we have to ask, is this a fair representation of all our nation's voters? Who speaks for those voters with no grasp or concern for the issues? Back with us to provide the moron's perspective is correspondent Hank Fielding. Hank.
Thank you, Al Franken. Well, they're gathered here in the Astrodome. I'm told it never rains here, but the Republicans are certainly hell-bent on raining on the parade of one Senator Bill Clinton. We can only hope the focus shifts from the Alabama senator's personal life to the real issues facing our country. Issues like the economy, foreign affairs, our country's financial straits, and, of course, the economy. Not to mention the recent problems in Iraq, where the Ayatollah is once again rearing his ugly head. One positive development for the Republicans is the recent addition of James Baker, who stepped down as Secretary of State to run this campaign. And already we can see signs of the Baker campaign touch everywhere. Music and balloons for a festive atmosphere. Speakers up on the podium for sound amplification. That's a touch that has Baker written all over it. Here we have these festive hats and these placards. As you can see, the names Bush, Quayle, properly laid out. Bush first, Quayle second. These are details that might slip by a less seasoned power broker. And finally, all the chairs are facing the stage. It seems obvious, but these little things matter. Yes, the Republicans win this one. They owe Mr. Baker a heartfelt thank you, Mr. Baker. We owe you for winning this one. Thanks again. In just a few days on the job, James Baker has taken a downcast GOP and created a carnival-like atmosphere. All that's missing is the booth where you shoot the stream of water into the clown's mouth, and the balloon gets larger. Whoever's balloon pops first is the winner, if you will, and the others can just go home, dragging their cotton candy and fried dough sticks with powdered sugar behind them. As for the Democrats, one can only hope that if their balloon bursts, that it is filled not with water, but with powdered sugar. Back to you.
Well, thank you, Hank. We're going to go to commercial in just a minute, but with us will be, first, when we come back, Norman Ornstein of the American Enterprise Institute will join us, and and he'll be back with one of his polls. Norman has just been, hasn't Norman been great, Roy?
Norman's been wonderful, and I hear that he's going to be even better tonight.
Ooh.
I've heard.
Well, I hope he can live up to that.
Yeah.
Well, we're about to go to commercial, but before we do, you know, a political party convention is about serious politics, but of course, sometimes we forget that it's also a big party. And the Republicans are in Houston to have fun, and early today at the morning sessions, the Republicans put on quite a spectacle for their delegates. So let's look at that.
Okay, we can...
That was held in the American Spirit Pavilion there at the Astrodome. Something from earlier today.
Welcome back to Indecision 92, the Republican National Convention. Here now is Al Franken.
We were watching Gaddy Vasquez.
Yeah.
Now, do you know him? You know everybody in American
I have met him, and he is clearly viewed as a real comer in the Republican ranks. Perhaps the Hispanic official that they have, who they see as having the most potential for.
Let's hear them. What he's saying.
As Republicans, we believe that every American is entitled to a good education that can unlock the doors of opportunity.
Okay, well, that's enough of that. With us is Norman Ornstein, resident scholar at the American Enterprise Institute. And now you've written a lead article in Foreign Policy magazine?
Foreign Affairs.
Why do people confuse those?
Because the names are so similar. Oh. Yes, that's probably that. One of the two words is the same. That probably has something to do with it.
I got it. And speaking of foreign policy, Norman, and Norman is joining us. He's our pollster and has been with us every one of these nights. And tomorrow you're going to Houston, I understand.
I'll be in Houston tomorrow, and we will be doing our polls from Houston tomorrow, and then back on Thursday.
Now, Foreign policy, obviously a big part of this convention. Reagan's speech last night was largely about it. Jim Baker, Secretary of State, that's kind of unusual, isn't it, taking the Secretary of State and having him leave to run a political campaign?
It's unusual, and of course he had to resign. He would have preferred to just take a leave of absence, but they had to separate these things. A big step, a big plus for George Bush in terms of getting somebody who's really in charge.
Make Bush look bad in a way.
When they made the announcement that Baker was coming over, both men looked grim. George Bush looked a little green at the time. I think, and part of it is they've had this long relationship where the image over the years has been that George Bush is like kind of the younger, slightly retarded brother, and the older brother who's accomplished keeps coming in and getting him out of fixes. It's almost like George Bush is the beaver and Jim Baker is Wally, and it's, Wally, I screwed up again. Please help me out, or Mom and Dad will kill me. So it's not very good for George Bush to have this man come in all the time and save him.
No, but it might work.
He did it in spite of all of that because he needs it. He needs to have somebody in charge.
And this could be a dirty campaign.
This is likely to be a campaign filled with mud, muck, and sleaze, as we suggested at the Democratic convention, and has been made clear already in the first couple of nights of this convention.
And part of that, of course, is this is the adultery question,
which seems to now have reared its ugly head in both parties for both candidates.
Maybe in a way evening the playing field. Now, I have this pictures from Spy magazine of Jennifer Fitzgerald. I don't know if can we get a shot of that? There she is. And this is the woman who George Bush has been accused of having an affair with. And this story's been around a while. It has never been proven. But I guess you did a poll to see if people actually believe this thing.
Yeah, this has been around for years, but it came up again in a much more direct way when Bush was asked about it at his press conference with Israeli Prime Minister Rabin, and so now it's made the front pages again. So we decided that we would have to really, as an obligation, as we had done involving Bill Clinton, take this issue on in a poll here. So what we did, Al, is we asked 1,168 respondents, do you believe that George Bush had an affair with Jennifer Fitzgerald? And the results were pretty evenly split. 43% said yes, they believe George Bush had an affair with Jennifer Fitzgerald. 35% said no, they don't believe it. And 22% don't know whether they believe George Bush had an affair with Jennifer Fitzgerald.
Interesting.
Now, of those who do believe that Bush had an affair with Jennifer Fitzgerald, when we asked them, do you find Jennifer Fitzgerald attractive? 11% said yes, they find Jennifer Fitzgerald attractive. 84% said no.
Right.
And 5% don't know if they find Jennifer Fitzgerald attractive.
11%, though, did find her attractive, really?
Yes, Al. And when we asked those 11% who found Jennifer Fitzgerald attractive, do you find Barbara Bush attractive? A whopping 92% of those who found Jennifer Fitzgerald attractive also find Barbara Bush attractive.
I see.
2% said no. And 6% don't know if they find Barbara Bush attractive. Now, when we asked just those who found Barbara Bush attractive, do you find Jennifer Fitzgerald attractive? 100% said, uh-huh.
Uh-huh.
Yes, a very enthusiastic uh-huh.
Wow. What can you make from all this, Norm?
Al, I don't know, but I can tell you this. If George Bush did have an affair with Jennifer Fitzgerald, you can certainly make an argument that he has a thing for a certain type.
A thing for a certain type?
Yes.
Thank you once again, Norman.
Sure.
Pleasure as always. I guess we're going to go to Houston, Texas, where the convention is being held. And who do we have there in Houston?
Well, we have Hi, Jonathan Alter. Hi, how you doing? This is Penn Jillette.
Hey, Penn.
I have with me here Jonathan Alter, who is the media cricket for Newsweek. And I also want to tell you that Barbara Bush is right below us here talking to McNeil Lear. And when she comes out, they're going to alert me. I'm either going to try to yell a question or hang a lunger on her. I'm not sure which way I'm going to go, one way or the other. But, Jonathan, the first thing you said was that you can name all the presidents in 25 seconds?
Maybe on TV 30.
Okay, well, make it nice and slow and easy. Right. Go ahead, let's go.
George Washington, John Adams, Thomas Jefferson, James Madison, James Monroe, John Quincy Adams, Andrew Jackson, Martin Van Buren, William Anderson, John Taylor, James K. Polk, Zachary Taylor, Miller Fillmore, Franklin Pierce, James Buchanan, Abraham Lincoln, Andrew Johnson, Elizabeth Square, Rutherford B. Hayes, James Garfield, Chester Arthur, Grover Cleveland, Benjamin Harrison, Grover Cleveland again, William McKinley, Theodore Roosevelt, William Mallory Taft, Woodrow Wilson, Warren Harding, Calvin Coolidge, Herbert Hoover, Franklin Roosevelt, Harry Truman, Dwight D. Eisenhower, John F. Kennedy, Lyndon Johnson, Richard Nixon, Gerald Ford, Jimmy Carter, Ronald Reagan, George Bush.
Nicely done. Beautifully done. Beautifully done. Now, can you name all the members of the Clash?
No.
No. Okay. Just checking.
What I want to know, are you going to ask Barbara Bush about something she said today that just...
What was that?
It took me aback. She said she had not read the platform. Now, she's the first lady of literacy, right? She's always walking around reading to children, stressing how important it is to read. The platform's not that long.
Like 20 pages.
Yeah. She hasn't read it. She said she has no intention of reading it.
Maybe that's a
Does she want to watch the
Now,
comedy?
see, this is what I'm talking. Now, Al Franken is a Democrat, right? And it seems like this whole media thing they're talking about, they all are Democrats. You're a Democrat, right?
Marginally. My mother's a Democratic
So this kind of paranoid thing that they're talking about. I mean, how many jokes did you do about Jennifer Flowers?
Well,
how many
wait a minute.
times you mentioned that?
No.
And yet you're doing a whole thing on Jennifer.
Let me just make a point about this.
Okay,
right?
make a point about it.
The Republicans are laying this big guilt trip on us. Oh, you guys, you're all Democrats. We know you're in the tank with Clinton. You're giving him a free ride. Well, how about just a little memory back to last spring when every week for 3.5 months we reamed Bill Clinton?
Okay, well,
I mean, so the idea of his getting a free ride is just a joke.
Put your money where your mouth is. Let's hear you really ream Bill Clinton right now. Tell us some stuff about Bill Clinton we don't know. Some stuff that you've been holding back for your Democrat pinko point of view.
No, we're not talking about, we're not going to get into, as George Bush says, we're not going to get into the sleaze.
No, this is Comedy Central. We live in the sleaze. We live in the sleaze. We wallow in the sleaze. I want you,
let's
get me excited. Tell me this. Tell it slow like a Penthouse letter. Come on. Dear Penthouse, I never believed your letter, but I was in bed with Bill Clinton.
Let's be clear about this. Whether he had a 12-year affair with Jennifer Flowers, and a lot of people say that sounds like a lot of jogging. Remember, he jogged over to the apartment. It doesn't sound too plausible. But a lot of reporters believe that something happened, and I happen to have gone to the press conference where they passed out the little tape at Jennifer Flowers' press conference. He has been extremely careful. It's very interesting semantically. What he does is he says, her story is untrue. And he might be technically not telling a lie, because her story does sound like it's kind of full of it, the way she described it and got paid for it. He never said, I didn't do it.
And that's the worst thing you can say about Bill Clinton?
Well, I'm just trying to...
Another member of the
wait a minute.
Democrat press.
I'm just trying to go to the...
Al.
Jesus.
Boy.
Whoa.
Well, let's remember that Jennifer Flowers, Jonathan was paid how much money?
How much was I paid, or Jennifer?
Jennifer.
They say over $100,000. But you know, I mean, clearly there are lots of rumors about a lot of other women.
Okay,
we haven't heard them.
What's the worst thing about
What's
Bush?
the worst?
We're
not done with Clinton yet.
Okay,
really,
go.
I mean, I don't know. This is a Republican convention. You want to talk about Bush? I'll tell you one thing about Bush that really got me today. I saw a woman outside the convention hall, big hoop skirt, Southern Bells for Safe Sex. That was her pitch.
Wow.
She was passing out condoms at the Republican convention. And what struck me was, in the 60s, when Bush was in Congress, he had a nickname. You know what it was?
What was it?
They called him Rubbers. He was for family planning.
I will vote Republican.
He was for family planning. This is interesting. He was for family planning. His mother founded Planned Parenthood in Connecticut. His father lost a primary for the Senate in Connecticut in the 50s because he was for family planning. Bush was all for it until 1980, and then 180 he did on it. So now they are trying to kind of slip back, and Barbara Bush is kind of winking and saying, hey, remember, George, he's the same old guy. Don't read this platform. Don't bother with anything you're hearing. To me, what they're betting on here, and this is a semi-serious point, is that people don't care about hypocrisy.
Right.
They don't care that if you, on the one hand, say we've got a gag rule, we're going to tell doctors they can't even give you medical advice and say an abortion is an option. On the other hand, we're going to wink and say, remember George, they called him Rubbers, he's really pro-choice.
So what we have here,
both ways.
What we have here is George Bush uses rubbers, Clinton does not. Back to you, Al.
I didn't quite get that out of this, but we're going to go to commercial now. But thank you, Penn. Thank you, Jonathan Alter. And we'll be right back with Indecision 92 after these messages from our sponsors. And it takes a lot of guts to sponsor our show, so buy these products.
Indecision 92, live coverage of the Republican National Convention.
For those of you who watched our coverage of the Democratic Convention, you probably noticed that every once in a while the show would kind of grind to a halt. But I think as the week went on, we got better and better at doing the show, and I think we really figured out how to keep the show moving and keep it funny. So I think this Republican convention is going even more smoothly and just ought to be a snap. You know, unless things go wrong. What if the Republican convention is worse? Worse.
Al's nightmare.
Well, the salute to the widows of Operation Desert Storm is entering its third hour. So let's go to Roy Blunt, who's watching the other networks. Roy, anything ironic or funny in this salute?
What are you talking about? This is a salute to our American heroes.
Well, I know. It's just that we made fun of Al Gore's speech about his son almost getting killed. I thought if we could make fun of that, we could probably find some ironic angle on this salute to the widows of Operation Desert Storm.
Al, I'm from the South. I don't know where you're from, but where I'm from, our war dead is hallowed.
Yeah, you're right. I'm sorry. You're right. Okay. Let's keep things moving. We're in good shape because with us is Dr. Arthur R. Fleck of the American Policy Institute, who is here to discuss campaign finance reform.
This is a very, very complex issue that Congress has been wrestling with for the last couple of decades.
Right, but basically it's all about getting money out of politics, isn't it? Isn't that right?
Not exactly. You see, no one is arguing that money can be taken entirely out of the process. After all, the goal is to increase political discourse. This brings us to a recent proposal made by the Bipartisan Coalition for Campaign Finance Reform, which would extend the concept of matching funds used in presidential races to congressional races.
Okay, congressional races being the House and Senate.
Yes, the coalition proposes a threshold of $50,000 in contributions of $200 or less for House candidates, and a threshold for Senate
John McLaughlin.
candidates. Now, there has been some debate within the coalition itself over the exact targeting of the thresholds, and
wrong.
Actually, I think he's not wrong.
Wrong. The guest is always wrong.
Okay, I think you're wrong.
Actually, I'm quite certain that I'm right.
Wrong. On a scale of 1 to 10, where 10 is right and 1 is absolute indefensibility, I give Dr. Fleck a 0.00, which means he is metaphysically wrong.
Are you okay, Al? Are you not well?
I'm sorry. I guess it's just that campaign finance reform is just one of those areas where reasonable men can disagree.
Wrong.
Well, you have no argument there. There is an underlying tension in the campaign finance reform debate on the basic constitutional rights of candidates to express themselves and get their message across. However,
cut him off, Al Franken. Go to Jamon. Go to Bond. Go to Kondracki.
Bipartisan coalition.
I can't. I don't have those people.
Reform by extending the concept of matching funds to congressional races. Proponents feel that you maintain the integrity of the right of individuals
Step aside,
to free
Al
expression,
Franken. Let
as
me
it is
at him.
embodied by the
Fleck.
You didn't have to kill him.
He's not dead, but he might as well be. He's a fellow at the Kennedy School of Government. I did you a favor, Al Franken. Now you owe me. 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 You owe me.
Al.
Roy.
Another nightmare, Al.
It was horrible. Whew. Well, I hope something happy is happening on the floor. Who's speaking? It's Newt Gingrich. Let's go to that.
Which his teaching has created. And on the other hand,
and Norman Ornstein is sitting in with me.
To their big city machines.
Let's listen to it, and I want you to hear your comments.
Okay. Deming taught the Japanese to focus on building quality with continuous improvement focused on the customer. If Deming's teaching was applied to
Now,
education...
he just narrowly won his primary election, right?
For the second time in a row, he had a close call. The last general election, he won by under 1,000 votes, so this time he barely won the primary again. In a new district, he's had to move. They tried desperately, the Democrats in Georgia, to get rid of him, redistrict him, but it didn't work.
In a January
but isn't it interesting, you know, Pat Buchanan gave him this throw them the raw meat approach, and he's talking about Edward Deming's quality control. I'm not sure this is a good approach to 1996. But he may be a little disoriented, Al. He had a rather severe car accident just outside of Washington last week, where the car in which he was riding in the back seat got hit by a truck that ran a red light. And he got a portion of his left ear sheared off. The state trooper actually had to go find the piece of ear and bring it back to him.
Well, I wish we had our own cameras there. We could get a close-up of his right ear.
It's a good thing for him that he has long hair, that he has, if you notice, he usually has it in the Republican cut behind the ear. Now he has it, if you notice, strategically placed over the ear to cover up the damage.
Okay, Calvin, can you see his left ear?
Whose left ear?
Newt Gingrich's. He got it severed in a car accident. From your vantage point, can you see his left side or his right side?
He keeps turning to the right. I wondered why he did that. No, he keeps turning over to the right. He keeps hiding his left ear. It's interesting that it's his left ear, and it's no, it looks like an artificial ear to me. He has one, but it doesn't look quite real. It has that kind of just from the store, off the rack ear look. Right, I can see him pretty well from here. You're lucky you have me down here.
Thanks, Calvin.
Yes.
Our eyewitness, our ear witness on the floor.
This is ear to the ground.
Hello, I can't hear you.
No, I can hear you though, and you look like you don't want to be on camera anymore.
No, I love this camera.
Oh, you have a mayor.
I do. No, I don't have a mayor, Al. I have the former mayor of my sainted hometown, Kansas City, Missouri. The heart of America, formerly, before St. Louis got the government to build it an arch, the gateway to the west. And the reason I have him is not because his Republican credentials are absolutely impeccable, and his convention credentials. He has been to 10 conventions. He has been to so many conventions. He's been to 2 Democratic conventions. By mistake, Dick?
No, it was well intended.
He on purpose went to 2 Democratic conventions. It's Richard Berkeley, the former mayor of Kansas City. The reason I've sought him out is because yesterday we had a question sort of hanging with George W. Bush, and that was whether his father, who seems to have chosen a barbecue restaurant in Houston that nobody else thinks is worth much, can be trusted to run the entire country if he can't find a barbecue restaurant. Kansas City, Missouri happens to be a famous barbecue town. The one difference is that it's usually black barbecue in Kansas City. We say in Kansas City going to a white barbecue is like going to a Gentile internist. But things might work out, but probably not. Now, Dick, as a Republican, do you think we can trust the country to a man who can't choose a barbecue place?
Well, but he can. We often, when I was mayor, would send barbecue to the president's plane when he came through Kansas City because he knew Kansas City had the best barbecue in the country, just as you pointed out on many occasions.
Well, then I guess that does it. We can vote for him on that basis, if no other. Thank you, Al.
Well, Calvin will be continuing that coverage of the president's gastronomical habits. You're eating the Mentos?
I'm eating and.
Oh, I'd like to see you say something in Republican.
The Republican Mentos. I like Mentos.
Well, that's not
like
Republican.
Mentos.
Oh well, as we say, Mentos is for everyone. Well, let's look at Newt Gingrich for a while, then we're going to go to Penn in a minute. Oh, I can't hear him.
Saving and job creation. As President Reagan said,
black.
We are more concerned with
He
your
could have asked
destination than your
the
origin.
convention to lend him an ear, but I mean, he's too serious for
individuals into groups.
Well, let's go to that. We have a still frame of the year. We have, I believe, either a close-up.
Based on your genetic past.
There it is. The top part was lopped off. It's black now, and we'll be keeping an eye on this ear and how it heals. The human body is a magnificent thing.
I wonder if the state trooper who found it, which was quite a task to look through all that rubble from the accident, was invited to the convention. Maybe he's there.
Maybe he is.
You know, this is one of these public servants. We never give him credit for things. That's
Well, I
a
know.
hell of a thing for somebody to do for a little salary.
Well, Penn Jillette is standing by in the Astrodome. Penn.
I'm in the Astrodome with Margaret Alexander, whose job it is to get money. Is that right?
That's right.
You get money for the Bush campaign.
That's right. I headed up the fundraising for the campaign up through May, and now I'm back over at the RNC heading up the fundraising over there.
Now, if I had $100,000 on me right now, and I'm not saying I do, but if I did have $100,000, what would you say to me to get me to give you money? How does that work?
Write the check.
You just say write the check? Don't you have any sort of sucking up you do? Like, you know.
Well, a little bit. It's a peer-to-peer. It's peer-to-peer sucking up.
I have, what have I got here? It's Carney roll, 20, 40, 60, 1, 2. I have $63 here. Now, if I said I have $63 here and I want to make sure that George Bush doesn't raise taxes on entertainers, do I get to get any sort of promise on you like that?
Never promise anything.
You never promise a thing?
No quid pro quos and contributions. You get in trouble when you do that.
So you don't get anything for it? So
I get good government.
You get good government. So I have to like believe in Bush first and then just give you money?
Yeah.
And he's going to win anyways.
Well, I think he is.
So what if someone says he's going to win?
You need money to win. He can't just sit back and say, "Oh, you know, I'm going to win." You need money to run the campaign.
But actually, what is like the largest contribution you get from like one person?
Actually, this year it's been $200,000.
$200,000.
Yep.
One guy comes in, writes you a check for $200,000.
Right.
And what does the check say? I'm paid to the order of.
It says usually paid to the order of the Republican National State Elections Committee. It's for a non-federal account.
I see.
Because the laws are really strict on things you can and cannot do with personal checks and unlimited personal, corporate checks, things like that.
And what
really boring stuff.
What do they write in the memo? do they write anything in the memo about
Nobody
taxes?
writes anything in the memo.
They don't write anything in there?
Not
even a joke?
Nope. They're happy to be able to participate.
So you have like a really cushy job. Everybody's just happy to come up and just give you money, any amount you want to get, you
well,
get.
no, that's not true. You have to create the ambiance, if you will, for somebody to contribute. It's because we don't go after just big guys. We go after low dollars, all in between, everything.
So what's the lowest amount of money I could get and get you to like come to my house?
Me?
Yeah.
For you, nothing. I'd come to your house for nothing.
Now, how much to get George Bush to actually meet him and shake his hand? How much does that cost?
Well, okay, this year, for example, during the campaign, we basically sort of set a minimum of about $500,000.
So if I get $500,000, does he come to me?
No, not for the campaign. For the campaign, that was different. You had to have 500 people writing $1,000 checks. 500
people. But what if I wanted a loan to meet him? Like, say I'm Steven Spielberg, and I say, I know Steven Spielberg's for parole. That's not important. Say Steven Spielberg comes up and says, I want to give you $1 million, but I want to meet Bush at a Wendy's and just give him the check myself. Does that work?
No, it usually doesn't work that way.
How much?
You're
how much have him play Twister with me? If I say I want George Bush to come to my house and play Twister, $3 million?
Maybe. I don't think so.
Okay, there you've got it. For $3 million, George Bush will come to your home and play Twister. It's better than an MTV
I didn't
contest.
say that.
Yes, you did. She swore to me.
How much to play Twister with you, Margaret?
Me?
Yeah. I feel I can say that because I'm so
Depends
far
on what
away.
you're writing the check for.
I have $63. Would you play Twister for $63?
Well, we'll let you two work that out a little later.
But $3 million for Bush to play Twister.
Well, $500,000 to shake hands with the president. Didn't they have that dinner? He had the dinner. You had to raise $500,000 to sit with him
and his autograph on the open market now goes for about $100. So I think you're probably better off just getting the autograph and showing it around.
Newt Gingrich has just walked off, and there's Robert Michael, the House Minority Leader.
Let's move along.
I'll never forget, I said this before at the Democrats, but it just amazed me. At the last Democratic Convention, '88, he remarked that just wait until people see all the black faces at that. Do you remember that remark?
I do, and he was very embarrassed by that.
I don't see why.
We don't see too many of them at this one.
No, we don't. But we do see we do have Merrill Marco, who is with us in Houston and reporting for us on the goings-on outside the Astrodome. Merrill Marco, co-creator of Late Night with David Letterman and author of What the Dogs Have Taught Me, a collection of humorous essays. Merrill.
Thanks, Al. I'm just going to go ahead and pretend that Al said something to me, even though this isn't live and I have no idea what Al just said. Anyway, I'm here at something called the American Spirit Pavilion. The PR release said, for the first time in political convention history, a new and exciting addition to the Republican convention will showcase American business innovations. It should have something for everyone on your Republican gift list. I got to tell you, my Republican gift list, it's so long, and some of these people are so hard to buy stuff for, so I thought, this is perfect for me. Come on, let's go buy gifts. Come on. Ah, the possibilities. It was like a Republican paradise. Right off the bat, I saw something so perfect for Clarence Thomas or Arlen Specter. What about Dick Cheney? What should I get him?
No, Dick Cheney, he's the type of guy, that, he wants everybody to, to have a little bit of mystery around him and not understand where he's coming from most of the time, because most of the time I don't think he knows where he's coming from. Right. So a pair of blues glasses like this here, about this size would do well too. The smaller size wouldn't do him any good because his head is kind of big.
Russia with love. Everything in here is made in Russia. The Russian interpretation of George Bush, which are all very, very different.
Now here he's got quite a hairdo on him.
Sometimes he's got red hair, sometimes he's got brown hair, but they haven't seen George Bush every day like we have, so it's their interpretation.
So go ahead and show me what's inside. Show me the
and numbered. And like I said, you get a certificate of authenticity.
Show us the insides of it.
Okay. This, of course, is Bush. Here we've got Reagan.
That's Reagan?
That's Reagan. And
Wait a minute. Now let's look at Reagan for a minute.
Okay, well let's see here. Here's another Reagan.
Now that's Reagan.
Okay. Here's Jerry Ford in his lime green golf shirt.
And when was the last time Jerry Ford had hair like that?
Probably about 1945.
And what about Bob Newhart? Why is he there?
Bob Newhart?
That looks like Bob Newhart. Isn't that Bob?
Jerry Ford.
We're introducing the clapping. We've got the only clapping machine on the premise.
Right, so this is for the Republicans what ooh, 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 ooh is for Arsenio.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. You think the Doles would like something like this?
Pardon me?
Well, I'm looking, I have all these different people to buy gifts for. Do you think the Doles would like something like this?
Sure.
Yeah?
Mm-hmm.
Elizabeth and Robert?
Oh, yeah.
All right, I'm going to get them that then.
Very good.
Don't tell them I only spent $5 on them, though, okay?
I don't think they'd mind anyway.
These are the lithographs which have been painted by Mr. Red Skelton.
Which one should I get for Newt Gingrich?
Well, let's see. Now for Newt Gingrich, how about Sunday afternoon?
Right. Why would that be most appropriate for him, do you think?
I'm not sure, except that's just my first general impression.
Right, and he makes faces like that quite a bit, don't you think?
Yes.
Kind of looks like Newt Gingrich, doesn't it?
Maybe it does. Maybe that was why that was the first impression.
There's 50% bust of President or Mrs. Reagan. What does that mean?
Oh, 50% means half size of life.
It's half the size of, what is it?
50% of life size.
Right. Now, which one is half? This is 50% of life?
That's, yes.
You mean, so Nancy Reagan's head is only twice as big as this?
Yes, that's correct.
Does she have a teeny weeny little pinhead?
Oh, yes.
So now, now this is 50% of size. Now, what is this?
About 28%.
This is 28% of the size of Reagan's head? Right. So Reagan's head is only 3 times bigger than this.
Right, that's right, yeah.
Right. Who would this be a good gift for? I'm looking for something for the Cheneys. Do you think they would like something like that?
Oh, probably.
You think?
I think so.
Well, there you have it. I think I'm set now through Christmas of '94. Only one sort of sad thing. I got an interview with George Bush, and damn, something was wrong with our camera right then. We don't have tape of it. On the bright side, I did get a photo of it, and I think you can see by the photo he was very taken with a number of my ideas. I had a nice long chat with him, and I think that maybe I might have turned his mind around on a few important issues. Back to you, Al. I can call you Al, can't I? I hope it's okay if I call you Al.
Bum, 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 bum. You sure can call me Al. And Norman, you can always call me Al. Thank you, Merrill. Norman, you may be coming back later, I understand. And can we go to the feed? I'm sorry, because Roger Staubach, one of my heroes, is on.
And now, by the way, the
Norman and I are both from Minnesota, and you remember the Hail Mary pass.
I will never forget it. It's one of those few moments in one's life that are kind of frozen in place. Having that great time just snatched away when you never expected it. It was just awful.
Talking, of course, about Roger Staubach, who was just now introducing Jack Kemp. Staubach throwing that pass that beat the Minnesota Vikings in what year? I don't know.
That was 1976.
I can always count on you, Norm.
I remember where I was, actually. I was up in Canada.
I was at the game, and they're cheering now for Jack Kemp, so we can talk about this. I was at this game, and immediately after that pass, the ref called it. It should have been called pass interference. A Minnesota Viking fan threw a whiskey bottle from the bleachers and hit the ref over the head. Remember that?
Yeah. Armin something or other, I think was his name, and he was fairly seriously injured, as I recall.
Yeah. But here's Jack Kemp. So let's
Two
look
quarterbacks on the stage, a rarity for a convention.
That is true. It was a very good
Two pro quarterbacks.
Okay, let's listen to Jack Kemp, just a little.
Thank you, Roger Staubach. It's an honor to be introduced by a fellow quarterback and an NFL Hall of Famer, and hopefully soon we can call you Governor Staubach or Senator Staubach from the great state of Texas.
I did not know. He's running for office?
Well, he's been rumored as a statewide candidate for better than a decade.
Fellow
But
Republicans,
has never taken the plunge.
fellow Americans, tonight America stands at the doorway of breathtaking opportunity.
Kemp told NBC that he was going to be, his speech was going to be conservatism with a smile, not a snarl, as compared to Buchanan's
History
speech.
is on the side of freedom. It's on the side of those liberal democratic ideals which gave birth to our nation and inspired.
When polls of Republicans ask who would you prefer in 1996, Jack Kemp outdistances everybody else by a huge margin. About 40% of Republicans prefer Kemp. No one else gets more than 11.
Endowed by our Creator with inalienable rights, among which are life and liberty and the pursuit of happiness. Tonight,
a little bit of sleaze surfacing on the floor.
Tonight, these ideas.
What's that? People are holding. Well, they stopped doing it now, but on CBS they're holding up. People on the floor are holding up signs saying, "If Hillary can't trust him, how can we?"
Just think.
Who?
1 year
Who do you think they're referring to?
Maybe.
I just saw
Jack Kemp, I guess it must be.
I just saw Neil Bush.
Yeah, it was right up behind Neil Bush's head. So the signs. So that's the first appearance of Neil Bush.
Yeah, I didn't think we'd see much of Neil Bush.
Well, maybe that meant maybe Hillary had an account in Silverado.
That's right.
That could be what that sign was referring to.
The statues of Marx and Lenin were toppled by the people in Red Square.
Dan Rather said he just talked to lots of delegates who absolutely teetotally, me-mortally loved Pat Buchanan's speech.
What does that mean?
First time I've ever heard it. Teetotally, me-mortally.
Did you think you got that from Alan Simpson or Calvin Trillin?
Well, we're going to go to commercial in the middle of the. I mean, we don't have to hear Jack Kemp's speech, do we?
No, it's he's a major figure, but I think we could probably move to commercial.
He'll mention enterprise zones, won't he?
I think there'll be no question, and he'll mention opportunity probably a number of times.
Okay, we're going to go to commercial, and when we come back, we're going to have the first Indecision 92 game show, Bite the Clock. And that's going to be really exciting.
I'm real excited about that. This is my real break.
Ooh, don't give that away.
Sorry.
Central presents Indecision 92, live coverage of the Republican National Convention.
There you saw Jack Kemp, who's continuing to speak. Jack Kemp, who was actually Ronald Reagan's choice for vice president in 1980. Jim Baker talked him out of it, talked him into George Bush, and Jack Kemp, George Bush and Jack Kemp don't get along very well, but Jack Kemp now very well thought of in the Republican Party, especially after the LA riots, because he talks about enterprise zones and those things. But you know, one of the great thrills of doing this job is I've actually seen a few of the things that I've said quoted in the paper. The Wall Street Journal, the LA Times. I guess the one quoted the most is the one where I said the wall between news and entertainment has been eaten away like the cartilage in David Crosby's septum, which I guess is a soundbite. And I've been trying to come up with other sound bites to get quoted, like the they're going to send down fetus-shaped balloons, and it's just, I'm not good at this, is what it's turned out. I'm just not good at sound bites. But the guy who's really good at it and who gets quoted a lot is Norman Ornstein, which brings us to this big moment, our Indecision 92 game show, Bite the Clock. Gene Rayburn?
Thank you, Al. You know, the sound bite, that little nugget of truth, that teeny pearl of wisdom that comes wrapped in a punchy 10-second package, has become a fixture of the American political scene. And that's why it's time to bite the clock. Now, let's bring on our champion, Norman Ornstein of the American Enterprise Institute. Hi, Norm.
Hello.
Welcome. Congratulations to you. So far, you are undefeated. How does that feel?
Well, pretty good, but as George Bush knows all too well, you don't want to rest on your laurels.
That's right, and that's why he's the champ. Now, let's meet our challenger. She's a homemaker from Claverack, New York, mother of two, Marie Rama. Hi, Marie.
Hi.
How are you?
Great.
Good. Now, tell me, Marie, are you interested in politics?
Well, actually, I am a little. You see, well, last year I got involved with some local politics. We kind of have a dangerous intersection in front of our house, and, you know, I got the township to put up a stop sign.
All right, good for you, Marie.
Yeah.
All right, now, Norman, Marie, it's time to bite the clock. You know how the game is played? I'll read a real or fictitious news story, and you bite the clock. Hands on buzzers. Get all set here now. Here we go. Clinton picks Gore. Norman, you were first. What do you say?
The chunk and the hunk.
Very good, very good. Bill Clinton is overweight, and many people have commented on Al Gore's good looks, the chunk and the hunk. Well, that's good for 10 points, and Norman Ornstein is a first on the board. All right, let's keep going now. Here we go with the second one. The crisis in Bosnia-Herzegovina. Again, it's Norman. What's your answer?
If they had oil, you'd see Operation Balkan Storm.
Very good. Right again. We also would have accepted, if they had oil, goodbye Saddam, hello Slobodan.
Oh, you know, I'm sorry, but, like, who's Slobodan?
That's Slobodan Milosevic, the president of Serbia.
Oh.
Marie, I think you want to keep this game going here. You're not on the board yet, but with a little luck, you will be.
Okay.
It's all right now. Here we go. Workers strike in South Africa. Norman, once again.
A time bomb waiting to go off.
Yes, correct. A very dangerous situation there, and I'm glad I'm not there. All right, Norman, Marie, here we go. Budget deficit approaches $4 trillion. Again, it's Norman. What's your answer?
A time bomb waiting to go off.
Oh, Norman, you're on a roll. Marie, there's still time for you.
Okay.
You can catch up. Here we go. Republicans unveil new Clinton bimbo. Marie!
Bedfellows make strange politics?
Oh, that's not right. I'm sorry. It's a nice try, Marie. Norman, do you have an answer?
An accident waiting to happen.
That's right. That's right. That's correct. Marie, we also would have accepted a time bomb waiting to go off. I'm sorry. It looks like we're going to have to say goodbye to Marie Rama. You didn't get on the board, but Marie, you will not leave empty-handed. Ed Link, tell her what you'll be taking home.
The 1992 Political Almanac. You can't tell the players without the almanac.
I thought I'd win the home version of Bite the Clock.
Oh, I'm sorry. We don't have a home version. We find that people don't like playing this game at home. But We thank you, Marie. Did you have fun with us here?
Yeah, I had fun.
Oh, I see. Would you escort Marie off there? Thank you very much. All right, congratulations, Norman. You're still our champion. I hope you're ready for the bonus round, are you?
I sure am, Gene.
All right, good. Stephanie, would you bring out the cake, please? There it is. Isn't that a beauty? And she's a beauty, too. We're all beautiful. All right, step over there now. Thank you, Stephanie. All right. You'll have 20 seconds to eat the cake. And if you do, Ed Link, tell him what he wins.
Well, Gene, first Norman will be off to historic Cambridge, Massachusetts, and the Joan Shorenstein Barone Center at the Kennedy School of Government, where he'll take part in a panel discussion with E.J. Dionne of the Washington Post and Marvin Cowell. But Norman, don't unpack your bag, because it's back on the shuttle to join C-SPAN's Brian Lamb on an early morning call-in show, where he'll discuss exit poll data from this year's presidential primaries. But that's not all, Norman. A nationally syndicated column is yours, courtesy of King Features Syndicate.
All right, are you ready, Norman?
I'm ready to have my cake and eat it too, Gene.
You're amazing, Norman. Now, let's put 20 seconds on the clock. Hands behind your back. And bite the clock. Look at him go. He's really biting that clock. He's eating it. He likes it. He ate the whole thing. 4, 3, 2, 1. Too bad, Norman. You were heartbreakingly close. But you're still our champion. Will you come back tomorrow?
You bet.
Thank you. Now that's all the time we have on Bite the Clock. I'm Gene Rayburn saying, if you can't say it fast, it's not worth saying. Good night.
Oh, thank you, Gene Rayburn. That was fun, huh, Roy?
That was. I keep trying to get a sound bite out of Kemp.
Is there anything he said that's a sound bite?
No, it's all. I can get a sound bite out of this. Sound much, anyway.
Now, some people have commented they hear you eating popcorn and they like it. They think it's funny.
I'm trying to kind of orchestrate it and do it only when it's not.
In little holes in the speeches. Yeah. But I thought that, Norman, come on in here, because I did want to ask you about something. By the way, congratulations on winning once again.
But I didn't get the grand prize, Alan.
Is Norman mic'd? Oh, there you are. That's
there
good.
We go.
I know you've been on these before. I just wanted to ask you about Buchanan's speech last night. Is that going to help or hurt? I thought that was an incredibly vicious speech.
Hang on 1 second. Here. Now. Buchanan's speech. Well, we could view this from two perspectives, I suppose, but I better not the second one at the moment. This was a calculated gamble, I think, on the part of the Republicans, including especially Bush. The campaign approved, or the
Bush campaign knew that he was going to make 7 or 8 gay-bashing references.
They had access to the speech beforehand, and they could have toned it down if they wanted to. What they want to do is to make sure they've got those conservatives enthusiastic about George Bush. They're not worried that the conservatives are going to go out there and vote for Bill Clinton. They're worried that they're going to vote at all. They need a reason.
That's interesting. No, the Bush campaign approved that speech. Okay, of course they did, I guess, of course. Lawrence O'Donnell in Houston has a guest.
Yes, Al, Jack Kemp is up there at the moment, and Will Durst is here with me. We've been following this speech.
Good.
Kemp has an interesting function here. Kemp's job is to make Republicans not feel mean. When you're anti-welfare, when you're anti-handouts to the poor, people think you might be a little bit mean. Kemp talks about compassion. He talks about all sorts of things that make you feel really good to not give anything to the poor. How do you see it, Will? How's it been going?
Yeah, Larry's right. Republicans are pro-good. They're anti-bad. Kemp talked about his dad being a truck driver,
Dad bought the truck, put 6 kids through college, so he's going for the truck driver vote. Being a professional football player, you know, that probably works. He's blamed everything on Congress. Everything's Congress's fault. Oh, God, enterprise zones, they said no. The economy, you know, unemployment lines lengthened to 11 million. It's Congress's. He's blamed Congress for the bad maple syrup crops and the demise of the Yankees. Everything is Congress's fault.
Yeah, if you could reduce this thing to one line, Al, it's he said that the people on welfare don't have bad values. The problem is the welfare system itself. You see the distinction he's doing here. It's everything is government's fault. Now, of course, no one down there believes that. Everyone down there believes people on welfare do have bad values, and that's why they're on welfare. But Kemp gets up there and he does a great job of making them feel good about who they are.
So this is the other side of the conservative coin.
Yeah, and look, Kemp is doing a terrific job at this. No one can do this the way Kemp does. He's talking about inner cities. He's mentioning all the things that Democrats mention in speeches, but it's just at a completely different, it's a 90-degree angle from that. It's an interesting turn that he makes with everything. But it's very effective stuff.
He's also talking about change. If we're going to change America, which I think is a bad tact for the Republicans to talk about change. He's calling Bush well, Bush is changing. I mean, he was for taxes, no new taxes. He's kind of like a chameleon or some other kind of a lizard. I think that's what Kemp is saying.
Well, he's in the same chorus on change of everyone else, which is get rid of the Democrats in Congress. They're saying what you have to change is the Congress, and
that's hard to do, though. That's as a friend of mine who's actually a Kemp Republican, a guy I went to high school with, Bob Danielson, Minnesota. Bob said that changing Congress, getting a Republican Congress, is just too many sales to make, too many closings. And in a way, I think that if they're talking about getting a government that's not in gridlock, I know. I'm
sorry,
okay, if I'm relying you. I'm talking about real politics here now. I'm talking about breaking the gridlock in Congress. But let's
addictive.
I want to thank Norman. Wonderful job tonight, and we're going to go to commercial. But before we do,
this is my consolation prize, right?
I don't think you get to keep that. We need that for tomorrow. Let's take a look at how earlier today the festivities at the Astrodome spilled out into the streets of Houston. The Republicans are really putting on a show, and if we look at that footage, you can see just how enthusiasm is taking over the city. The world's largest hot dog failed today near the Astrodome.
I didn't know Oscar Mayer was a Republican.
Indecision 92, live coverage of the Republican National Convention.
Welcome back to Indecision 92. If we can see the feed for just a second on speaking is Catalina Vasquez Villapando, the Treasurer of the United States, who I think yesterday or the day before said, can you imagine two skirt chasers campaigning together, referring to Bill Clinton and Mayor Cisneros former Mayor Cisneros of San Antonio, and she's had to apologize. So I just want to show you all the people who have apologized. I'm not the only one. Anyway, we don't really have to listen to her speech. Anyway, with me is Roger Rosenblatt, who is an essayist for the McNeil-Lehrer News Hour and a contributing editor to several magazines, including Vanity Fair, The New Republican, Family Circle, and this is part of our pledge once again to present only the funniest McNeil-Lehrer regulars.
It's very kind of you, Al. Thank you.
Yeah, you narrowly beat out Richard Pearl.
Oh, great.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Actually, Roger and I go back a ways. Now, you were what's called master of my house.
That's true.
At Harvard College. I went to Harvard. I tested well.
You did very well, Al. Yes, as a matter of fact.
Well, in high school I tested well.
Certainly above average.
Now, you have I'm going to show a picture. Do we have this picture of Roger giving me my diploma? Neither of us has changed.
No, remarkably.
That's me on the left.
We're dressed the same.
Okay, well, enough of that. Now, Al Gore was in Dunster House.
He was. He was. He, in fact, I remember a story with him and Tipper Gore.
there were rules. Do you remember rules called parietals?
Parietals.
Yeah, I think it was a word invented at Harvard. Anyway, it had to do with men's dormitories, and those were the times that you were allowed to have women in your rooms, and say it was up to midnight or something. I was coming back from some meeting, and it was certainly after midnight, and I saw Al Gore and Tipper walking through Dunster House, the dormitory, walking through the
in violation of parietals.
In violation of parietals, and I could see the look in Al Gore's face. He blanched. I mean, I could see him say, "There goes the presidency."
Right.
He saw me. He had broken the rules. He was walking with Tipper, and I'm approaching, and he's getting more and more scared, and he can't escape. I mean, he can't run. You know, he could run, but he couldn't hide. And as I passed him, I just barely looked up. I said, "Gentlemen," and walked by.
Well done.
Thank you.
Very true to form for a good Harvard man.
Oh, thanks.
Thank you. We're going to go to Houston. Roger will be with me for the Phil Graham speech. So let's go to Calvin Trillin on the floor of the Astrodome.
Senator Phil. Thank you, Al. All right. You hear me, Al?
Yeah, I sure can.
That's good. I was very pleased at the skirt chaser remark for one reason, and that is, it's a nice old-fashioned word, skirt chaser. I don't like these new words. I don't like womanizer. Womanizer sounds like some sort of machine, you know, you might plug in or anything. I think the main thing to report here today, Al, is that they've tried to show some diversity here. So they've had about 4 black speakers. And the question now is whether there are any black people here at all who haven't spoken. There's some feeling there may be 2 or 3 here who haven't spoken. But if so, why did they have Kemp speak? Because he is known to be the only high Republican office holder who actually knows black people. So we think he's kind of a substitute for another black person.
Well, if you find any of these black people haven't spoken, we'll put them on.
We're adding that to our list. So far we have, because of Domestic Affairs Day, we have people who are working as domestics. We're having foreign-looking people. We're searching for them, and black people who haven't spoken. I also would want to tell you that Kemp's speech started a lot of talk about where the administration went wrong on economics, and some people think that during that Christmas season, when the president bought 4 pair of athletic socks to try to jumpstart the economy, it just was a matter of numbers. Some people I've heard have said 6, 8 might have done it.
Maybe just a dozen. We have Phil Graham is speaking. Let's go to that. Thank you, Calvin.
Okay, Al.
Okay, here is the keynote speech.
She talked to the president, and it was one of the biggest days of her life, but she didn't know, and I didn't know, that you couldn't just issue a postage stamp. It has to be field tested to see if the public will accept it and use it. And we had the misfortune of having Washington, D.C. chosen as our field test area. In fact, it was worse than that. We had the U.S. House Post Office.
What's he talking about?
And as you guessed, the stamp failed the field test.
They were going to put out a stamp of him, and his mother was proud, but they had to test the stamp.
Of Phil Graham, they're going to put out?
That's my understanding. I was listening to Bud, actually.
Spitting on the wrong side.
People were, well, you heard that. It's all about a stamp of him. People were spitting on the wrong side of the stamp. Therefore, they wouldn't stay.
So this is like the joke he usually tells at any chicken and pea dinner, right?
Right.
This is before the speech begins.
Yeah, he's warming us up.
As the world experienced,
He said he's been in Washington trying to do the Lord's work in the devil's city.
Ooh, very good.
Another religious war.
The wall has come down. Eastern Europe has been liberated. The Soviet Union, the evil empire that threatened our lives and our freedom for 45 years, exists today only in the pages of history books. 100
tepid response.
132 nations united behind our leadership to crush a tyrant in the Middle East. And America stands today in triumph.
Okay, we're going to go to commercial, and then we're going to come back to Phil Graham's speech, and we'll just bring you right up to it, because so far it's not an electrifying speech. So we're going to go to commercial, pay some bills. Roger Rosenblatt, you've been terrific so far.
Thanks a million.
And we'll be back in just a couple minutes.
Welcome back to Indecision 92, the Republican National Convention. Here now is Al Franken.
Phil Graham speaking. Let's hear what he has to say.
People now in uniform and civilian defense jobs will be thrown into the streets. And defense...
He's saying that with the Clinton cuts in the military, people in uniform and in civil defense jobs will be thrown in the street.
They can join all the others who've been out of work for a year and a half.
So Colin Powell and the head of McDonnell Douglas will be in the gutter.
The White House so decimated defense that on any given day, 50% of our planes couldn't fly, and our ships couldn't sail because we didn't.
Graham said it was Ronald Reagan who put the Kremlin in the crosshairs, but it was George Bush who pulled the trigger.
And their families qualified for food.
Blew up the Kremlin.
That's wonderful.
Yeah.
Now Lech Walesa, Yeltsin, these guys didn't do too much.
No.
Bush thought a lot of Václav Havel.
Yes.
He said that Havel was in jail and living and dying, whatever, for freedom.
Now, earlier, the Berlin Wall is mentioned a lot because the Berlin Wall fell during the Bush administration, although he didn't seem too excited about it when he first heard about it. But you're hearing a lot about the Berlin Wall.
It grows on you. I mean, you don't get excited right away. I mean, you just see the rubble and get increasingly excited. Quayle got excited about the Berlin Wall.
What did he say about it? Say it quick.
Said we're in an irreversible trend toward freedom, but that could change.
Well, I gotta go to Penn Gillette. I'm sorry, Roy, but I gotta go to Penn. He's with Penn. Who you got there?
Well, it doesn't matter who I've got. It's who I had, and I had them when they were good. Just moments ago, about a half an hour, Barbara Bush was coming out of McNeil Lear, which is right just a longer shot behind us. And as she was coming out, we got her to tell a joke, and it's pretty hip.
You got
but
a tape?
maybe you'll like it. Yeah, we got a tape. Show the tape. Okay. Are we rolling now?
Here she is.
Here comes Barbara Bush. Hello.
This is Bush.
Bush.
Come on up and do Comedy Central.
This is Penn Gillette, Lawrence O'Donnell. We're from Comedy Central. Do you know a good joke? You yell, knock, knock. I say, who's there? Just work the moment. It'll be great. One joke. Just one joke. Who's there?
Oh, yes. Yes.
What did she say?
Knock joke out of Barbara.
What did she say, Pam?
And I don't get it.
Barbara Bush.
Okay, we're having audio there. Penn.
Barbara Bush, me. That was it was a thrilling moment. She told me a joke, and it was so hip that I didn't get it. But I have here someone to explain these kinds of jokes. I have Richard Kramer, who wrote a book called
What It Takes.
What It Takes, which is, I guess, the white person version of By Any Means Necessary. And he's here to talk about George Bush, who he knows well, right?
Well, I've been working on the guy for 6 years, and you're right about that it is whatever it takes. He literally said to David Frost earlier this year that he would do whatever it took, and people were, terribly scandalized, but this is just no more than candor.
So he wants to be president, and he doesn't care about anything else at all.
Well, by the time he gets into the middle of the thing, he will pick up anything from the alley and come right at Clinton.
It's like a stand-up comedian who just wants a sitcom.
That's right.
Exactly. Now, what I want to hear out of you mostly is a couple of George Bush jokes. I mean, Reagan did the Jefferson joke, but what kind of jokes does George Bush tell when you're just, like, hanging out?
Well, you have to understand that Bush gets his humor. It's kind of white boy locker room humor. This is what he goes for.
I'll get it. I'm white.
It's all body parts, scatology. while he was waiting to go to the Capitol to take the oath of office, you know, the Chief Justice, the Bible, he was having pictures taken with his family out on the lawn of the White House, and all he was saying the whole morning was, geez, I hope I don't cut the mud up there. I should say for the viewers, that's white boy for fart.
Okay. And get another joke he told?
Yeah, well, this was the joke that he was telling just before he came out of the gate and eviscerated Mike Dukakis. His joke was, what's 14 inches long and hangs in front of an asshole? And the answer is Mike Dukakis' tie.
Oh, okay. Well, there you go. There you go.
Gee, Richard, thank you so much. You know, Bush does. Well, I have to say goodnight to Penn. Can we see Penn and Richard?
Yeah, yes, we're here.
Oh, good. I want to say goodnight to you guys.
So Donald Jr.
Richard, can you join us again tomorrow night?
Absolutely. Al.
Oh, good.
With more of these jokes.
You can tell the Ocelot joke.
I got a million of them, Al.
Okay, great. Well, thanks. We have to say goodbye to Penn and to Calvin because we lose our feed with our people in Houston. We'll continue to have Phil Graham. And so good night, you guys. That was delightful, wasn't it?
Particularly the Kramer's joke, you know.
Yeah. Calvin.
Yes.
I have to, good night because we're losing you.
I feel like a gut-shot panther.
You look like one, too.
Oh, no.
No, you don't.
Thank you, Al.
We'll see you tomorrow night. Okay, well, let's see if we can get some of this speech. This is the keynote speech.
Budget amendment to the
After
Constitution. Had Congress said yes, the deficit would be falling and mortgage interest rates would be below 6% today, but the Democrats said no.
No, this is his opinion.
To stop skyrocketing medical costs from driving working families to ruin, President Bush asked Congress to reform health insurance, to give the self-employed an insurance tax deduction, to cap Medicare and Medicaid costs, and to end the million-dollar malpractice suits that drive insurance rates out of reach.
He said flatly that if the Democrats had been elected in 1980 and all through the 12 years, the Berlin Wall would still be standing.
Said no.
Again, his opinion.
Yes.
Yes. Did they cheer his opinion?
Pretty much. I mean, it's not, it's okay, but it's not Buchanan. I mean, let's face it.
Well, he said something about spoken in 1,000 dialects, George Bush's name would still be George Bush. That's in the text that we got. Did he say that actually?
Anti-drug bill.
Oh, actually, he spoke George Bush's name in 1,000 dialects. It was really impressive.
That's
I
really
missed that. I don't
remarkable.
know. What context is that? I missed that if he said it.
No, it's
you're
here.
going to jail and you're going to serve every day.
It's hard to say Bush in a dialect, isn't it?
Apache, it's.
Yeah. Bush. Bush.
Bush.
That's right.
Bush? It's like a beer. If the beer is Bush. Bush.
And when you finally get out of prison, if you do it again, you're going back to prison, and this time you're going back for life.
Is he speaking about anybody in particular?
Had Congress said
Now the video
yes,
walls
we would have grabbed the drug
aren't as impressive as the
Democrats
Democrats.
said no. You see, the Democrats still blame society, not criminals.
Here, let's see if we can cast a shot. No, we can't do that. Listen to him.
The Democrats went on to overturn 22 Supreme Court decisions.
That's wonderful.
That it strengthened law enforcement. That it empowered the cops on the beat to protect law-abiding citizens.
This is terrific.
So bad was their bill that 15 state Democrat attorneys general, not to mention 16 Republicans,
we got to do that again.
The president to veto the Democrats' pro-criminal bill.
Sure. That's what I call commentary.
America's problem today is not that the president's plan to energize the economy has failed. Our problem is that it has not been tried. It is not that the president did not ask for change, but that the Democrats who run Congress kill those changes.
Basically, both he and Kemp have been making the point that the Republicans would have done something in the Bush administration, except that the Democrats kept saying no. Both speeches have.
But on the other hand, now Bush has said many times that he's not that interested in domestic policy.
He doesn't seem interested in anything. Does either of you have an in terms of war? Does either of you have an explanation of why all these speeches are so terrible? I mean, uniformly terrible.
Well, this is. I mean, I've been reading some of this, and this is. I mean, we could prove that it's terrible by showing more of it. But what
yes,
would that?
Why punish the viewers?
I'm sorry,
Democrats and Republicans.
Okay, listen, I'm tired of being told what to do. I just heard I got all these handlers here telling me this is throw to commercial. I'm sorry, I apologize, Roger.
Sure, it's okay.
But it's I mean, I'm supposed to say what? Okay, that he's Phil Gramm is the sponsor of the Gramm-Rudman bill. I know it. I know that.
Let Al be Al.
That's right.
Yeah. Unleash Al.
Let's look at Phil Gramm some more. I know who he is. He's a senator from, okay, what state? Texas. From Texas. He's a senior senator?
He's a senior senator, except he's younger than the other senator.
Oh, Benson.
Benson.
Okay. Well, I guess I don't hear him. Tell me in the earpiece, who is he? He is the junior senator, is what I'm hearing. Okay, and I should go to commercial? Okay, I'll go to commercial. I'm sorry I lost my... Go to commercial and apologize to people for losing my temper? Okay, sorry. We'll be back with Indecision 92 after these messages from our sponsors. Buy the products that the sponsors are advertising.
Watching Indecision 92, live coverage of the Republican National Convention.
We have been listening to Phil Gramm's speech. You want to... Let's go to it.
The hubcap sparkled. The upholstery was spotless. The paint was new. But when you look under the hood, he's peddling a model from the 1970s, a Carter Mobile with the axle broken and the frame bent to the left.
I'm talking about Slick Willie, and that's probably the biggest reaction he's gotten tonight.
They like cars, Brandon.
Yeah. Do you know where he is in the speech, have you?
Unfortunately, he's only about halfway done.
You know what I'm going to do? I'm sorry, but...
It was a lemon for the nation in the 1970s.
See, it was a lemon. He's using it's a lemon for the nation back when Carter was... If you want to... You know what? If you want to watch the speech, where are we? Oh. If you want to watch the speech, just like tune in something else. I'm sorry. It's just not so good. Okay. We missed Cuomo's speech, so this is... when things get slow around here, we are going to be reading from Marilyn Quayle and Nancy T. Northcott, who's her sisters, Embrace the Serpent. And I don't know if you remember from the Democratic... convention, if you may remember that when we left off, Fidel Castro, the Cuban leader, had died of an apparent heart attack. Now Castro's ministers, including the inscrutable Valles and the cunning registrar, play a waiting game as to who will take power. And many ask themselves, where is Raul Castro, the heir apparent? The Russians, under the direction of General Basilov, I'm going to read a thing, but I'm setting it up for you, have begun to initiate their own secret plans. Operation Romanov, which is Operation Romanov. And in America, thanks to the Congress's emasculation of the intelligence budget, only Senator Grant, a black Republican from the state of Georgia, has had any real contact with the Cubans. Meanwhile, Maria, a maid at El Palacio de la Revolucion, Is that right?
Nicely pronounced.
Thank you. And a secret member of La Causa, a ragtag group of freedom fighters led by the imprisoned hero of the people, General Moya, has just learned of the death of Castro. This is from the book. Edmundo, please, please control yourself, Maria pleaded, clutching his trembling shoulder. Answer me, what has happened? Tell me, now, what has happened? Understanding finally returned to his eyes. He grasped her hand. Castro, dead. He's dead. The rum. He took it. Didn't drink. Really didn't drink it. Dropped it. Dead. Embers burnt his beard. Maria's placed her fingers against his lips, stopping the torrent of words. Castro's dead? Really dead? Can you be sure? Edmundo nodded in affirmation, trying clumsily to stand. Maria's heart sang, even though her face remained as expressionless as always. Thank God. Her prayers, repeated so often and so fervently, had been answered. Cuba might at last have a chance. Their years of labor, all their years of danger and frustration, might finally be at an end. She had to get the news to Alejandro.
You're not going to stop.
I am. Later we'll see what happens when she talks to Alejandro.
All right.
Well, we're going to go now to the comedians round table. Oh, I guess probably not, huh? Should we go to the speech a little bit and then you can maybe get the... we're going to go to the speech a little bit and we'll turn the cameras around. This is a funky operation.
Graham, in fact, made a reference to Cuba while you were reading Embrace the Serpent.
Whoa, remarkable. Chills. I got chills. What did he say?
He said, only in Cuba and North Korea and the Democratic Party are there organized political groups who believe that the answer to problems is more government.
Now, he left out China.
Right. Where no, their answer to problems is shooting students.
Very effective answer, it turned out.
And Bush's answer to that is having his brother open a golf course.
That's right. Will Rogers once said that the Republican president, any Republican's president's motto was, "Boys, my back is turned."
I was walking down the steps of the Capitol, and a reporter came running up to me and said, Congressman Graham, in a 1,350-page budget, how did you decide what programs ought to grow and what programs ought to be cut? And I thought for a minute, and I said, well, I used the Dickey Flat test. And not being from Mahia,
that's a cheer for everyone who's heard this story before.
So I explained to her, I said, I tried to look at every program of the federal government. And then I tried to think of some honest-to-God, flesh and blood working people.
Okay, we're going to go to the Comedians Roundtable, anchored or hosted by Gordon Elliott. Gordon.
Sure, it's been the highlight of yours. We'll take it back to some more sober discussion where you are.
Well, this is, you expect this kind of discussion from a show like Comedy Central. There's the Republican goatee. Thank you, Gordon. And thank you, comedians. That was very funny. I enjoyed that a lot. We're going to go to the feed and to Phil Graham, who is on his last sentence. Let's get that sentence then.
We need never fear the future. America's third century will be our greatest century. God bless you and God bless America.
NBC cut away from Graham to local news and did about 15 minutes on Woody Allen.
What is it? What's the news on Woody Allen?
Ralph Felder says that it doesn't play well for Woody. Ralph Felder, the divorce lawyer, and he doesn't have a prayer in hell of getting custody of these children. And a psychologist said it was a cry for help, Woody's behavior.
Very good. Oh. Did we hear from Alan Dershowitz again?
Dershowitz said he went into the child abuse charge, which he said was not leveled by Mia Farrow, but by another person who had been watching the children.
Well, that's all real sad.
Yeah, it's terrible.
It's like a terrible, horrible, ugh. And okay, well, I think we're going to go to a little segment called Whatever Happened To. Am I right? Yes, I am. Here's our Whatever Happened To segment. Here it comes.
Tonight, Indecision 92 asks, whatever happened to Nelson Rockefeller, the heir to the Rockefeller fortune, who was appointed vice president by Gerald Ford, but left the ticket under conservative pressure before the 1976 convention? Well, he's dead. Tomorrow night, whatever happened to Henry Cabot Lodge Jr.?
Comedy Central's Indecision 92, the Republican National Convention, is brought to you in part by Twin Peaks Fire Walk With Me, opening August 28th.
Where's the body? It's out back.
Finally.
Love you, babe.
The darker chapter.
My secret diary. Her page is missing.
Before Laura Palmer's murder.
Freak accident.
The killer will strike again. Who knows where or when?
Twin Peaks. Fire Walk With Me. Rated R. Starts Friday, August 28th at a theater near you.
Watching Indecision 92, live coverage of the Republican National Convention.
There's something about a small town in the summer, like a Norman Rockwell picture back in time. It's recording at the Rex.
No one is carrying Mo Bandy, by the way, on the
Well, they were
network.
swaying. There was some swaying.
No, I mean, none of the other networks are carrying it.
Oh, I see. I thought the crowd wasn't.
He once sang a song called, "It was always so easy to find an unhappy woman till I started looking for mine."
He actually has a very nice voice. I love country music. Talking about small
And it
town.
hit me like a freight train that a stone's throw from the fast lane. America is still safe and sound.
Great. Okay, America's still safe and sound and in the hands of George Bush and the Republican Party, and that's Mo Bandy, country singer Mo Bandy. A nice song and a beautiful voice. A few things. First of all, speaking of America being in sound hands, I've been asked to apologize for Richard Ben Kramer's remarks in which he referred to a joke that George Bush told. So I should probably be apologizing also for George Bush. And there was a word in it, and if Dan Quayle spelled it, it would be ass-hol. Because he would leave off the E.
That would have been all right.
I did it again, didn't I? What, apologize again? No, I will not be handled. We have our poll results on who's worse, Bush or Quayle. The total number of people called in was 501. 463 voted, said Bush was worse. That's 92%. And 38 people said Quayle was worse. That's 8%. And those people each spent 75 cents. I would like to say goodnight to Roger Rosenblatt.
Good night, Al. Thank you.
Thank you for coming in and joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Pleasure. Good to see you. Roy, thank you again.
Al, thank you.
And I'd like to thank everybody who helped us tonight, the comedians and everybody in Houston. And stay tuned on Comedy Central. Coming up next will be Night After Night with Alan Havey. Alan will be talking with Ronald Reagan channeled through Jim Morris, the impressionist who does an amazing Ronald Reagan. Also Siobhan Phelan from Saturday Night Live, my pal. And somebody named George Cobra Face from the new film Columbus. And of course, Alan will have an update, a Woody Allen update. So if you care about that, which I'm sure you do, stay tuned for Night After Night with Alan Havey. This has been fun. See you tomorrow night, third night. Barbara Bush will be speaking. It's Family Values Night. You'll see very, very little of Neil Bush, though. Oh. Good night. From Indecision 92. Good night.
You very very well may have just witnessed a broadcast that could go down as one of the seminal events in the evolution of modern democracy. Then again, you may just be flipping through the channels and miss the really good parts of Indecision 92, the Republican National Convention. If that's the case, relive history at 12:30 tonight when we replay Indecision 92 in its entirety. That's immediately following Night After Night with Alan Havey starting at 11:30. We now rejoin Comedy Central's regularly scheduled programming already in progress.